8 years ago, it'll be 8 years, October 31st, when I found out definitely I had breast cancer. Hi, I'm Chrissie, and this is my story. I remember going to the doctor just for an annual checkup, and I came home and told Mike that the doctor found something and I needed to go in for some more tests. So we went in for a mammogram and an ultrasound, and of course they couldn't tell me anything at that time. And so we met with the surgeon a couple or 3 days later, and Dr. Ahn was her name, and she was very straightforward, no nonsense type of doctor, which I absolutely loved. I didn't want somebody dancing around it. I wanted to know what was going on. And she said to me, as she put those x-rays up to the light, she said, "Well, this doesn't look good to me. This looks like cancer." And I reached over and grabbed Mike's hand, and I remember feeling like she had just offered me a death sentence. It was probably the scariest thing I've ever had to deal with. I kept thinking, I'm a mom. I have a 6-year-old and a 9-year-old at home who need me. And I'm a wife, and I'm supposed to be there for them. Even though so many people have beaten it, it feels like a death sentence. We didn't say anything to the boys. We were going to keep it to ourselves for a while. I didn't want to scare them. I didn't want to uproot their lives at that point. I didn't want anything to feel out of the ordinary for them. And so the associate that was working with Mike came to stay with to get the boys off to school that morning when I had to go in for surgery. And of course, when they came home, then I was bandaged up and they had to be careful with me. And that's when we told them what was going on. And Caleb was old enough to remember when Mike's best friend died of leukemia. And I remember saying to him, "Mommy's got cancer." And he turned white and started to cry. And he said, "Like Uncle Rick?" And I immediately said, "No, not like Uncle Rick." I said, "Mommy has breast cancer. Uncle Rick had leukemia. It's different." And we had to talk him through that. And the harder part of that was he was going to go on a hunting trip with his dad. And we had to tell him that that wasn't going to happen now. And for a kid in elementary school, that's a hard thing to take, even though his mom has cancer. Now he had to deal with not getting to go on his hunting trip. Josh, of course, being 6, it was all about him and how is this going to affect me. And so it was one of those things that I was going to take care of my boys. Even though I had to go through this, I had to still take care of my boys. I still needed to be a wife to my husband. I started chemo on November 29th. That was my first treatment. My boys and Mike shaved my head. It was right before my second treatment because my hair was starting to fall out. They said, "We'll shave our heads too." And I told them no, they didn't need to do that, that my wig was coming in. And in fact, right after we shaved my head, they called to tell me that my wig had arrived. My wig helped me to feel a little bit normal anyway through all of the chemo. My friend Carol had breast cancer before we met her. My kids call her Aunt Carol. She's a very, very dear friend in Raton. And she had it 12 years before I did, I believe. And she told me, when I said to her, "I don't know how to tell my kids that I'm sick," she told me, "Don't tell them you're sick because you're not. You have cancer and you can fight it." I told her I knew that we were going to always be friends, but I didn't really need to be in that club with her. So we are bonded more than just by friendship. I think the one thing about cancer that I can say was a good thing was how it changed us. My boys care about people who are going through things. love them so much. Since this happened, they will reach out to people who have loved ones who are going through cancer. I just think it makes them better people for having gone through it. And I would never ask to do cancer. I would never ask to have to go through what we went through, but it made our family stronger. A verse that I really clung to during that time was Jeremiah 29:11. It says, "I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to help you and not to harm you, plans to give you a hope and a future." I never once asked God why I was going through this. I felt like cancer doesn't discriminate, and so why not me too? Just because I'm Mike's wife and he's a pastor didn't mean that I shouldn't go through it too. And so I never felt like he should have protected me from this. And so I think it's made me a stronger person in the sense that I went through that, but I also know who got me through that. And without God as my foundation, without my family there to get me through all of the stuff that I had to deal with, I would have never made it on my own.